Welcome back to the live. I got DG Sax, Derrick Griffin here, Peter Host,
Yeah,
House for
man.
Disrupt Education. What's up, Derrick? How are you doing, man?
Man, living the dream, man. Just came off of a really great event at Tao Chicago this past weekend. Shout out to Tao Chicago Hospitality. Super welcoming, very nice restaurant space. They were hosting a corporate event for a construction company called Clunes Construction, who did over $2 billion of work last year, which
That's
was
it.
just that's it, just 2 billion, and you utilize us as a nice write off, right? No, but
Yeah,
no, it
right.
was no, it was great. It
Right.
was
No,
great
that's
though. Honestly,
awesome.
we had an excellent time. I think it was the first time we ever got an encore as a group with the DJ firm off the cuff. So I mean, incredible time. And the music was just, I mean, the flow I think was arguably the best that we've had so far. I mean, we've been doing it for about a year now.
Hmm.
But I think we're starting to find our rhythm a little bit more and really just get into a flow, of chemistry and where each of us come into play. So it's
Got
been
it.
great, man.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. So,
Yeah, man.
you are one of a few professional musicians
Yeah.
that have actually had in classes and such.
Hmm.
But number one, congratulations, because this man was just voted number one saxophone player in Chicago. So that was a nice little thing. So
Yeah, man.
where was that from? Where'd that come from? It was
Yes. Yeah. So,
I know
so
you're
full,
humble, dude, but I want to throw it
full,
out there.
no, no. Well, listen, full disclosure on that.
Yeah,
First of all, shout out to the one and only 8-Bit Mike, who is the piano player of Off the Cuff.
there you go.
That was a personal number one saxophonist on
Hey,
his
man,
end.
there are two of
No,
us right now that are saying it.
unofficial number one. So
Yeah.
yes, we got two, right? So we're going places, right?
Anybody, cranes out there,
Yeah.
Chicago, let's go. All
Hey
right.
man.
So,
Hey
anyway,
man.
I
Yeah.
wanted to, you mentioned first, first encore. I'm
Yeah.
talking about first here and
Yeah.
then, some advice. So I wanted to kind of go into when was
Yeah.
the first time that DG Sax performed
Yeah.
for professionally for money or for something, right? Not like, I mean, all musicians know, like, when you start you're probably in elementary, middle school, or somewhere where you're
Yeah.
playing a show
Yeah.
or something with your peers or whatnot. I'm talking
Yeah.
about, okay, man, you got some paying customers. Tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
that, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's crazy because, I was thinking about the question as you asked, and the very first time, I can't quite remember, but when I first remember receiving any type of compensation was when I didn't expect it at all, right? Like I went into a recording situation with an artist, and it was simply us just networking, right?
Mhm.
He played music, I did music. He's like, I've been looking for saxophone, and he sent me the tracks maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ahead of time. I go to his apartment. It's off of Lakeshore Drive. I'm like, all right, I am so ready for this. Like, I don't know what to expect, but I've prepped my tracks. I've prepped how I'm going to play it musically, sonically, like the phrasing. I'm already like, I've got all that mapped out. And he's kind of just like in awe as I'm playing the music because he didn't like quite expect me to come in that prepared. And
Mhm.
that's one thing I will say I pride myself on is like just being prepared for any moment, stay ready so you never have to get ready. And like he saw that level of preparation and just love that I put into the craft, and he realized that, like, man, like most musicians I've worked with don't typically come in the door first time working like this. And so for me, like, first impression is everything too. And I get it, like people come in, they have a bad day, but I think if you are ready to bring your best self or your best version, that's how you have to approach every single day in life, because you don't know when your last day may be. And I think that's something that for me, like when me approaching it with that mentality, ultimately, he saw that and he was like, listen, man, he's like, this is a respect for your craft. Like, I want to give this check to you, knowing that, like, I want you to know I respect what you bring to this project. And, there's a lot of value that you've now added because of that. And at the time, the person I am speaking about is Jams the Flavor Child, by the way.
Oh
Shout out to
yeah.
Jams.
Yep.
And it was just incredible because it was a song by by him and his friend Kevo, who had passed away
Mhm.
to an overdose. And it was just a very deep song, right? It's called Past Tense. We performed it live before, and it was just a way that I could tell it resonated with him differently. And it just goes to show you, you never know what the person next to you may be going through, right? And just being, just being nice. It doesn't cost to be nice to anyone, and just coming with the right approach, because music is the universal language, as I always say, that connects us in some way, shape, or form. But it was a day I'll never forget, and that just opened up like a light bulb for me to say, wow. So he saw something different in me that I had never been approached with. And so it started to make me realize too, like what my worth was as a
Yeah.
musician, because a lot of what I was doing was just, hey, let me get the opportunity to go play at this venue and perform with this artist. But then what I started to also realize was that some people took that kindness for weakness. And I had to
Mhm.
also make sure that I was standing my ground and making sure that my artistry wasn't being belittled. And there's been times where I've had to turn away different clients for that given reason. And I simply explain to them, like, listen, if there is no budget, or if there isn't some type of standard that's being put in place, then maybe I'm not your guy.
Mhm.
And I'm perfectly fine with that. And to any creator that's out there, like, don't just accept anything. Like, really ask yourself, is it something that's in a line with who you are? And is it something that you want to be doing long term? Because otherwise it starts to turn into this cycle. And that's one of the things that I've been telling a lot of my fellow bandmates and musicians that I work with. Don't pigeonhole yourself. Don't put yourself in a box. Like, really make sure that you're leaving your options open, and you'd be surprised. I mean, the worst thing that they can say is no. Everybody's situation is different financially. Some people are relying on this to be their end all be all, and at any point, you're saying, hey, well, $50 this night is exactly what I need to fill up my gas tank, or 500 for this event is what's going to pay my rent. You've got to make it work for you. And so, but I think it's important that you set that standard, and I think ultimately that's what it taught me, when I first
Yeah.
got paid. Yeah.
Love that. Actually, right, I think it was soon after that you introduced me to Jams, who's done some
Yeah.
pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
not quite here on LinkedIn, but if you're watching on YouTube, just look up James the
Yes.
Flavor Child as you guys are
Yes.
moving through that.
Yes.
I know a lot of young people
Yeah.
who are looking in the music industry, right? Sometimes producing, sometimes creating, and just being a creative and an artist. You kind of alluded to a lot of things there, but let's say
Hmm.
you go back to your old self or somebody who is of your age back in like elementary or middle school, who is deep into it and just loves the instrument or the music or whatever they're doing musically. What kind of
Hmm.
advice do you give them, man?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, like, and just I want to make sure I'm understanding, just like anyone who's passionate about any type of like instrument, or just
Right.
has
Yeah.
it, like,
Well,
has a
let's go
desire.
here, right? We're on LinkedIn
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
so and YouTube.
yeah,
Let's just say
yeah,
there's parents, right? And
yeah, yeah.
your baby wants to do like real professional music and you're not sure about it,
Hmm.
right? Because
Yeah.
there's like, oh, well, what about that lawyer thing you were talking about or whatever, right?
Right,
Like
right.
what kind of ways would you kind of I know you gotta, sometimes prove it to others, but prove it to yourself and know that you're in it to win it all the way to becoming a professional musician.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it definitely starts with, like, just being vulnerable, like being willing to be vulnerable. Like, that's the first step, and how you can go about that is a couple different ways. I mean, we have a lot of spaces now that are set up for the gig economy,
Mhm.
where you can enlist yourself as a musician, as an entertainer, photographer, videographer, whatever lane that you're in, and then putting some type of portfolio out there, which is something that you've spoken to
Mhm.
several times on your podcast. Shout out
Yeah.
to Disrupt Education for those who don't know.
Mhm.
Creating that portfolio is very key, because then, clients can start to see, like, the type of work that you have stylistically. Does it fit with maybe the brand that they're looking to, present? And, how do you fit in line with that? But I'll give you a prime example. Like myself, I'm getting ready to do a wedding walk February 4th. And essentially, it's like a showcase. It's going to be in the West Loop. It's for all couples who are in the process of getting married, or looking to get married. And, you have to start off by investing into yourself. to a certain extent, right? So it's like a $250 stipend.
Mhm.
For some people, they may say, "Wow, that's a pretty crazy number." But what I say to that is like, look at that as an opportunity to just sow the seed, right? Like if you get 5 clients that are willing to pay 250, you've one paid off your initial investment. You've now made another opportunity to maybe invest into some other equipment that you may have needed, or just opened up another door that you didn't quite think was there. So I think for me, it's like opportunities like that that get me excited now, because I realize there's a lot of opportunities in this space. No one's ever going to stop getting married. There's always going to be private events, right? So if you can find something that is always going to be a need, there's always a desire for it. It's then finding your niche within that. But first step is definitely becoming vulnerable and failing. Like it's not going to be perfect, right? Like, but you got to do it, to then kind of reassess and have like almost like a case study. Like, okay, I've got this experience to work from. Now I need to go back to the drawing board and kind of tweak a couple things to really refine it and really make it make sense moving forward. And then when you start doing that and you start enjoying the process, you start going to yourself like, wow, like, man, there's so much here that I could actually do. And the possibilities become endless at that point. So
Nice, nice.
yeah,
Love that. Great advice again. Yeah,
yeah,
shout out to Jams, man. He's doing his
yeah,
thing
man.
as
Yeah,
well. It's great to see so many people out there just, creating. And like you said,
yeah,
this is it goes back to my old speech, haters, waiters, and
yeah.
doers, man. Like if you want to do something, or if your child wants to do something, encourage them, put them
Mhm.
in spaces. Uh,
Yeah,
or take control, take yourself accountability, and start creating. And
yes.
that's really, I mean, I've learned that a lot from you, Derrick. So if you
Yeah, man.
want some more, hear the up and coming number one Chicago
Here we go.
saxophonist. He's right here, dgsax.com. Derrick Griffin. I'm Peter Hostrasser, disrupteducation.co. Hey, man,
Yeah,
thanks so much, Derrick, and thank you all for hanging out with us on the live today. Leave a comment, man. We'd love to hear some more from you. See you guys later.
appreciate it.